Hello student, welcome in Department of Nanoscience and Nanotechnology FIBSc class. In today's lecture, we are going to learn about the electromagnetic nanoengineering. First topic is electronics and nanoelectronics. So, what is nanoelectronics? Today, electronics are used and they solve our most of problems. The two exceptional disadvantages of electronics are physical and increasing cost of fabrication of integrated circuit. There are some advantages of using nanotechnology in electronics such as increasing density of memory chip, decreasing weight and thickness of screen. Then nanolithography is used for fabrication of chip, reducing size of transistor used in integrated circuits, improving display screen in electronic devices and reducing power consumption. Then introduction to nanobiotechnology. Nanobiotechnology term refers to intersection of nanotechnology and biology. This subject is emerged very recently. Nanobiotechnology is essentially biotechnology, whereas nanobiotechnology is specific application of nanotechnology. For example, DNA nanotechnology, cellular engineering would be classified as bionanotechnology because they involve working with biomolecule on a nanoscale. Conversely, many medical technology involving nanoparticles as delivery system or as sensor will be example of nanobiotechnology since they involve using nanotechnology to advance goal of biology. Nanobiotechnology is often used to describe overlapping multidisciplinary activity associated with biosensor, chemistry, biology and biophysics. Then applications of nanobiotechnology. First, nanomedicine. Nanomedicine is field of medical science whose applications are increasing more and more because of nanorobots, which constitute very useful tool development at clinical level. At clinical level, cancer treatment with nanomedicine will consist of supply of nanorobot tool patient through injection that will search for cancer cell and limit to healthy one, will not cause hair loss and other secondary impact. Then DNA nanotechnology. It is most important application of nanobiotechnology to utilize inherent property of nucleic acid like DNA to create useful material in area of modern research. Then surface plasmon resonance. It is also known as SPR. It is an optical effect that can be utilized to measure the binding of molecules in real time without the use of labels. SPR instruments are primarily used to measure the binding kinetics and affinity of molecular interactions. SPR can be used, for example, to measure the binding between two proteins, a protein and an antibody, DNA and a protein, and many more. SPR is unique because it is one of the few techniques that allows determination of binding kinetics and not just binding affinity. The binding kinetics or the on and off rates can only be determined with biosensing technique that gives real-time binding data of both the association and dissociation phases of the interaction. This data gives detailed insight into the binding strength and stability of the interaction, which is critical for many industries and research areas. It helps researchers determine which molecules interact, why they interact, and how strongly they interact. When a beam of light passes from material with a high refractive index into material with a low refractive index, some light is reflected from the interface. When the angle at which the light strikes the interface, that is the angle of incident theta, is greater than the critical angle, the light is completely reflected. If the surface of the glass is coated with a thin film of a noble metal, for example gold, this reflection is not total. Some of the light is lost into the metallic film. There then exists a second angle greater than the critical angle at which this loss is greatest and at which the intensity of reflected light reaches a minimum or dip. This angle is called the surface plasmon resonance angle. It is a consequence of the oscillation of mobile electrons or plasma at the surface of the metal film. These oscillating plasma waves are called surface plasmons. When the wave vector of the incident light matches the wavelength of the surface plasmon, the electrons resonate. Hence, the term surface plasmon resonance. The coupling of the incident light to the surface plasmon results in a loss of energy and therefore a reduction in the intensity of the reflected light. It is because the amplitude of the wave vector in the plane of the metallic film depends on the angle at which it strikes the interface that an surface plasmon resonance angle is observed. Then advantages of SPR technology. While there are many biosensing instruments available, SPR technology makes observing binding behavior on a molecular level easier and more accurate than ever before. Here are just a few distinct advantages associated with the use of surface plasmon resonance. First, label-free detection. Differences in refractive index are detected using SPR, so no label is needed for detection. Then second is small sample sizes. SPR requires a minimal amount of sample to run experiments. Scientists and healthcare professionals can use less of expensive materials, thus saving money and making surface plasmon resonance more affordable and accessible. Third one is reusable sensor chips. Another cost-effective advantage associated with SPR is the ability to reuse sensor chips. Sensor chips directly influence the quality of the data and serve as a vital component of biosensing, with so much depending on the quality and performance of the sensor chip. It is even more impressive that these chips can be reused. Next is ability to handle complex samples. Even in situations where only crude samples are available for testing, surface plasmon resonance can be used. SPR has been used for testing samples in a variety of complicated matrices, including for serum analysis. Next advantage is ability to replicate measurements. Replicate injections of the same concentration of sample throughout a run can be done in a repeatable manner. Then real-time monitoring. Essentially, the use of SPR technology provides a simple and relatively affordable way to observe how different biomolecules interact in real time. This has tremendous applications in the pharmaceutical and medical industries as well as the field of genetics and kinetics. New applications with materials such as nanoparticles are also burgeoning field of interest. Next topic is nanoplasmonics. Nanoplasmonics research focuses on the optical phenomena in the nanoscale vicinity of metal surfaces. In nanoplasmonics, researchers focus nanoscale light below the diffraction limit by converting free photons into localized charge density oscillations, so-called surface plasmons, on noble metal nanostructures, which serve as nanoscale analogues of radio antennas and are typically designed by using antenna theory concepts. In that, now we will see nanoplasmonics in photovoltaics. Sunlight is composed of many wavelengths of light. In a traditional solar panel, silicon atoms are struck by sunlight and the atom's outermost electrons absorb energy from some of these wavelengths of sunlight, causing the electrons to get excited. Once the excited electrons absorb enough energy to jump free from the silicon atoms, they can flow independently through the material to produce electricity. This is called the photovoltaic effect, a phenomena that takes place in a solar panel's photovoltaic cells. Next is plasmonic colors. Conventional pigments produce colors by selectively absorbing light of different wavelengths. For example, red ink appears red because it absorbs strongly in the blue and green spectral regions. The reliance on dyes and chemicals for colorants is fraught with problems such as the fading of dyes due to chemical reactions, the need for different dyes for different colors, and the effect of dye-related chemical waste on the environment. A similar effect can be realized at much smaller scale by using arrays of metallic nanostructures. Since light of certain wavelengths excites collective oscillations of free electrons known as plasmon resonance in such structures. Unlike color pigments, which can be overlaid to generate new secondary colors, discrete metal nanostructures rely on size, shape, and relative positioning to generate new colors. For instance, aluminum nanostructures can be engineered to produce a broad range of colors, thus making it suitable for ultra-high resolution color printing previously demonstrated in silver and gold. Furthermore, the process of color mixing in nanometallic structures result in purer colors than the basic color palette. Then nanoplasmonic biosensors. With the potential to revolutionize infection diagnostics, researchers have developed nanoplasmonic sensors capable of detecting live viruses. These label-free optofluidic nanoplasmonic biosensors have been demonstrated to directly detect live viruses from biological media at medically relevant concentrations with little to no sample preparation. Another example are simple ultra-sensitive nanoplasmonic microRNA sensors that hold promise for the design of new diagnostic strategies and potentially for the prognosis and treatment of pancreatic and other cancers. Next topic is nanophotonics. What is nanophotonics? This area of nanoscience called nanophotonics is defined as the science and engineering of light matter interactions that take place on wavelength and subwavelength scales, where the physical, chemical, and structural nature of natural or artificial nanostructured matter controls the interactions. Nanophotonics or nanooptics is the study of the behavior of light on the nanometer scale and of the interaction of nanometer scale objects with light. It is a branch of optics, optical engineering, electrical engineering, and nanotechnology. It often involves metallic components which can transport and focus light via surface plasmon polaritons. Solar cells. Solar cells often work best when the light is absorbed very close to the surface, both because electrons near the surface have a better chance of being collected and because the device can be made thinner, which reduces cost. Researchers have investigated in variety of nanophotonic techniques to intensify light in the optimal locations within a solar cell. Then spectroscopy. Using nanophotonics to create high peak intensities if a given amount of light energy is squeezed into a smaller and smaller volume. The intensity in the hotspot gets larger and larger. This is especially helpful in nonlinear optics. An example is surface enhanced Raman scattering. It also allows sensitive spectroscopy, measurements of even single molecules located in the hotspot, unlike traditional spectroscopy method which take an average over millions or billions of molecules. Then microscopy. One goal of nanophotonics is to construct a so-called super lens which would use metamaterials, or other techniques to create images that are more accurate than the diffraction limit. Near field scanning optical microscope is a quite different nanophotonic technique that accomplishes the same goal of taking images with resolution far smaller than the wavelength. It involves raster scanning a very sharp tip or very small aperture over the surface to be imaged. Near field microscopy refers more generally to any technique using the near field to achieve nanoscales sub-wavelength resolution. For example, dual polarization interferometry has picometer resolution in the vertical plane above the waveguide surface. Next point is microelectronics. Microelectronics is a subdivision of the field of electronics that deals with very small and microscopic elements to manufacture electronic components. Microelectronics has been rapidly evolving as the most in-demand field of electronics because of the ever-increasing demand for inexpensive and lightweight equipment. Microelectronics is a field in electronics that utilizes tiny or micro components to manufacture electronics. As demand for small and less expensive devices grows, the field continues to expand. The main areas of focus generally are research, reliability, and manufacture. Semiconductor materials such as silicon and graphite are most commonly used elements in the manufacturing of microelectronic devices. These include transistors, capacitors, inductors, resistors, and diodes, as well as insulators and conductors. Equipment and expertise used in manufacturing of microelectronic devices is not widely available, causing microelectronic devices to generally be more expensive than devices that do not utilize microelectronics. Then fabrication of microelectronic devices. The purpose of this section is to give you simplified overview of the manufacture of microelectronic devices. The process is far more complex than will be described here. Still, you will be able to see that microelectronics is not magic but a highly developed technology. Development of microelectronic device begins with a demand from industry or as the result of research. A device that is needed by industry may be a simple diode network or a complex circuit consisting of thousands of components. No matter how complex the device, the basic steps of production are similar. Each type of device requires circuit design, component arrangement, preparation of a substrate, and the depositing of proper materials on the substrate. The first consideration in the development of a new device is to determine what the device is to accomplish. Once this has been decided, engineers can design the device. During the design phase, the engineers will determine the numbers and types of components and the interconnections needed to complete the planned circuit. For example, vacuum tube equipment, solid-state devices, integrated circuits, etc. So, in this chapter, we have been seeing electronics and nanoelectronics, nanobiotechnology and its application, surface plasma resonance and their advantages, then nanoplasmonics, nanophotonics, microelectronics, then fabrication of microelectronic devices, etc. Thank you so much.